Scotland Yard. The crime took place at 24 Culver Street, Paddington. The murdered woman was a Mrs. Maureen Lyon. In connection with the murder, the police are anxious to interview a man seen in the vicinity wearing a dark overcoat, light scarf and a soft felt hat. Motorists are warned against icebound roads. The heavy snow is expected to continue, and throughout the country there will be a certain freezing, particularly at points on the north and northeast coast of Scotland.
Mrs. Barlow? Mrs. Barlow? Oh, it's cold. Oh, it really does look nice. Oh, how stupid of Giles. Oh, gosh.
Molly, where are you?
Doing all the work, you brute.
Oh, there you are. Leave it all to me. Shall I stop the Aga?
Done.
Hello, sweetheart. Where did you go?
I've just come in.
Why, where have you been? Sure you'll not be out in this weather?
I had to go down to the village for some stuff I'd forgotten. Did you get the chicken, Nettie?
It wasn't the right kind. I went on to another dump, but that wasn't good either. Practically a whole day wasted. Oh my God, I'm half frozen. The car was feeling like anything. The snow's coming down thick. I bet we're not snowed up tomorrow.
Oh dear, I do hope not. Only the pipes don't freeze.
You have to keep the central heating well stoked up. Oh, too good. I do wish they'd send a coat, though. We've not got any too much.
Oh, I just want everything to go so well at first. First impressions are so important.
Is everything ready? Nobody's arrived yet, I suppose.
No, thank goodness. I think everything was in order. Mrs. Barlow's hooked it early. Afraid of the weather, I suppose.
News of these daily women are. Especially those in your shoes.
And yours. This is a partnership.
Don't you ask me to cook?
No, that's my apartment. Anyway, we've got lots of tins in case we're snowed up. Giles, do you think it's going to be all right?
Not told you, have you? Are you sorry now we didn't sell this place in Mtsaturday? This mad idea of running it as a guest house.
No, I'm not. I love it. Oh, and talking of the guest house, just look at that.
Pretty good, what?
Oh, it's a disaster. Don't you see? You've left out the S. Monkwell instead of Monkswell?
Good Lord, that's what I did. However did I come to do that? It doesn't really matter, does it? Monkwell is as good a name.
You're in disgrace. Go and stoke up the central heating.
Of course, that I see that. Shall I bank it up for the night now?
No, don't do that until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Hurry up. Someone may arrive any minute now.
You've got all the rooms worked out?
Yes, Mrs. Boyle found a four-poster room, made in that carpet room, Miss Kate went East room, Miss Fanny Oak room.
I wonder what all these people will be married. Oughtn't we to rent in advance?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
We're rather close at this game.
Well, you're both very good addresses.
That's what servants of forged references do. Some of these people may be criminals hiding from the police.
I don't care what they are, so long as they pay us 7 guineas every week.
You're such a wonderful woman of business, woman.
And according to Scotland Yard, the crime took place at 24 Culver Street, Paddington. The murdered woman was a Mrs. Maureen Lyon. In connection with the murder, the police are anxious to interview a man seen in the vicinity wearing a dark overcoat, light scarf and a soft felt hat. Motorists are warned against icebound roads.
Simply awful, and my taxi gave up at your gate. Wouldn't attempt the drive. No sporting instinct. Oh, Miss Weston, how delightful. My name's Red.
How do you do, Mr. Wren?
You're not at all as I imagined you. I've been picturing you as a retired general's widow in the army. I thought you were triply grim and then my vision that the whole place would be simply crammed with burning bras. Instead of Emily, quite having lovely proportions. That's fake. But this table's genuine. I'm simply going to love this place. Have you got any wax flowers or birds of paradise?
I'm afraid not.
What a pity. What about a sideboard? A purple plum mahogany sideboard with great solid carved fruits on it.
Yes, we have, in the dining room.
Oh, in here? I must see it. Come on. Absolutely. respectability. But why do we have to send them mahogany tables? A little tables just to spoil the effect.
Oh, well, people will guess what prefer them. This is my husband.
How do you do? A terrible weather, isn't it? Brings one back to Dickens and Scrooge, and I'm irritating tiny table, so bogus. Of course, Miss Acton, you're absolutely right about this, little tables. I was merely being carried away by my feeling for period. If you would have sent mahogany diamond table, you'd have to have the right family around it. Stern, handsome father with a beard, prolific, faded mother, 11 children, a sort of a great governess, and somebody called poor Harriet. The poor relation acted in a dog body and very, very great to give him a good home.
I'll take this upstairs for you. Oh, room, did you say?
Yes.
I do hope it's one of the fireplace and the chin's present.
It hasn't.
Are you very much in love?
We've been married just a year. Perhaps you'd like to come and see your room?
Take it off. But I do so like knowing all about people. I mean, I find people so madly interesting. Don't you?
Well, I suppose some are and some are not.
No, I disagree. They're all interesting because you never really know what anyone is like or what they're really thinking. For instance, you don't know what I'm thinking about you now. Do you?
Cigarette?
Hey, no, thank you. You see, the only people who really know what people are like are artists. And they don't know why they know it, but if they're portrait painters, it comes out on the canvas.
Well, are you a painter?
No, I'm an architect. And my parents, you know, baptized me Christopher and hoped that I'd be an architect. Christopher Wren. As good as halfway home. Actually, of course, everyone laughs and makes jokes about it and says, falls over, who knows? I may yet have the last laugh. Chris Wren's pre-famness will yet go down in history. Ooh, I'm going to like it here. I find a wife, no, sympathetic.
Indeed.
And really very beautiful.
Oh, don't be absurd.
See, isn't that like an Englishwoman? Compliments always embarrass them. European women take compliments as a matter of course, but English women seem to have the feminine spirit crushed. Out of them by their husbands. There's something really boorish about the English.
Come up and see your room.
Shall I?
Can we set the hot water boiler?
This is Monkswell Manor, I presume.
Yes?
I am Mrs. Boyle.
Oh, I'm Giles Larson. Come into the fire, Mrs. Boyle, and warm. Awful weather, isn't it? Is this your only luggage?
Major Metcalf is it who's seeing to it.
I'll leave the door open.
The taxi stopped at the gate. It wouldn't risk the drive. We had to share a taxi from the station, and there was great difficulty in getting that. Nothing ordered to meet us, it seems.
I'm so sorry, Mrs. Boyle. We didn't know what train you were coming by. Otherwise, of course, you see, we just seen that there was somebody standing by.
All trains should have been met.
Let me take the coat. My wife will be down in a moment. I'll just go and get Metcalf and have the bags.
The drive might at least have been clear of snow. It was awful and casual, I must say.
I'm so sorry,
Mrs. Ralston?
Yes,
You're very young.
young.
To be running an establishment of this kind, you can't have had much experience.
Isn't the house be beginning for everything?
I see, quite experienced. old house. I do hope you haven't got dry rot.
Certainly not.
You know, a lot of people don't know that they have dry rot until it's too late to do anything about it.
The house is in perfect condition.
Could do with a coat of paint. And you've got worm in this oak.
This way, Major. This is my wife.
Oh, how do you do? Absolute blizzard outside. I thought at one time we shouldn't make it. Oh, I beg your pardon. I mean, if it goes on like this, I should say we'll have 5 or 6 feet of snow by morning. Haven't seen anything like it since I was in leave in 1940.
I'll take these upstairs for you. Which room did you say? Blue room and the red room?
No, I think Mr. Wren in the rose room. He liked the 4 posters so much. So it's Major Metcalf in the blue room and Mrs. Boyle in the oak room.
Major.
Sir?
Do you have much servant difficulty here?
We've quite got a local woman who comes in from the village.
What indoor staff?
No indoor staff, just us.
Indeed. I understood this was a guest house in full running order.
We're only just starting.
I would have said a proper staff of servants was absolutely essential before setting up an establishment such as this. I consider your advertisement was most misleading. May I ask if I'm the only guest here along with the Major Metcalf, that is?
Oh no, there are several here.
Weather too, a blizzard no less. Very unfortunate.
Well, we couldn't very well foresee the weather.
North wind I blow, with the bring snow, and what the will the rob the blue then poor thing. You can do nursery rhymes, don't you? Always a tragic in a family. That's why children like them.
May I introduce Mr. Wren, Mrs. Boyle.
How do you do?
This is a very beautiful house, don't you think so?
I have come to the time of my life when the amenities of an establishment are far more important than its appearance. Had I not believed this was a fully running concern, I should never have come here. I believed it was a with every home comfort.
There is no obligation for you to remain here if you're not completely satisfied, Mrs. Boyle.
No, indeed, I should not think of doing so.
If there had been any misapprehension, we'd have better if you went elsewhere. I like to bring for the taxi to return. The roads are not yet blocked. We've had so many applications for these rooms that we shall be able to fill your place quite easily. In any case, we're raising our terms next month.
I am certainly not going to leave before I've tried what the place is like. You needn't think you can turn me out. Perhaps you'd show me to my bedroom, Mrs. Ralston.
Of course, Mrs. Boyle.
I think that's a perfectly horrible woman. I don't like her at all. I'd like to see you turn her out into the snow. Serve her right.
I shall have got to forgo, I'm afraid. Lord, there's another thing. Coming.
Afraid my car's parked about half a mile down the road. Ran into a drift.
Let me take this. Any more stuff in the car?
No, I travel light. Huh, glad to see you've got a good fire.
Mr. and Miss...
Casewell, how do you do?
my wife will be down in a moment.
No hurry. Got to get myself thawed out. Looks as though you're going to be snowed up here. Weather forecast says heavy falls expected. Motorists warned, etc., etc. I hope you've got plenty of provisions in.
Oh yes, my wife's an excellent manager. Anyway, we can always eat our hens.
Before we start eating each other, eh?
Any news in the paper apart from the weather?
Usual political crisis? Oh yes, and a rather juicy murder.
A murder? Oh, I like murder.
They seem to think it was a homicidal maniac. Strangled a woman somewhere in Paddington. Sex maniac, I suppose.
It doesn't say much, does it? If the police are anxious to interview a man seen in the vicinity of Culver Street at the time, a medium height, wearing darkish overcoat, a lightish scarf and soft felt hair. Police messages to this effect have been broadcast throughout the day.
Useful description. Fit pretty well anyone, wouldn't it?
When the police say they are anxious to interview someone, is that a polite way of saying that he's the murderer?
Could be.
Who was the one who was murdered?
Miss Lyne, Miss Maureen Lyne.
Young or old?
It doesn't say. It doesn't seem to have been robbery.
I told you. Sex maniac.
Oh, in this case, well, I had Molly, my wife.
How do you do?
It's an awful night. Would you like to come up to your room? Mama?
You're right. I would.
Christmas pie. I'm thinking you're only good at it. What a good boy am I?
I must hurry out to the kitchen and get all the things. Major Metcalf's very nice, he won't be difficult. Miss Boyle really frightens me. We must have a nice dinner. I was thinking about the 2 tins of minced beef and cereal and tin of peas and mashing the potatoes and the stewed fig and custard. Would that be all right?
I should think so. Not very original, perhaps.
Oh, do let me help. Do cooking. Oh, I'm running on it. You've got eggs.
Oh yes, we will make your eggs. We've lots of fowls. They don't lay as well as they should, but we put down a lot of eggs.
And if you've got a bottle of cheap anytime wine, could add it to the minced beef and the cereals, did you say? Give it a continental flavour. I dare say, surely that the kitchen isn't what you've got, and I should have an inspiration.
He's going to be sweet. He's put on an apron and he's getting all the things together. He says leave it all to him not to come back for half an hour. If our guests wanted to do the cooking themselves, it would save us a great deal of trouble.
Why on earth did you give him the best room?
I told you he liked the four-poster.
He liked the pretty four-poster. Twat!
Giles!
I'm not used to that kind. You didn't have the suitcase I did.
Had it got bricks in it?
There was no weight at all. You asked me, there was nothing inside it. He's got one of those young men who grow up bilking hotel keepers.
I don't believe it. I like him. I think this case was rather peculiar, don't you?
Terrible female. She's a female.
It seems very hard, and I guess you'd be either unpleasant or odd. Major Metcalfe's nice, though, don't you think so?
Probably drinks.
Oh, do you think so?
No, I was just feeling rather depressed. In any case, we've heard the worst of it. They've all arrived.
Who can that be?
Probably the 12th Street murderer. Yeah.
1,000 pardons. I am. Where am I?
This is Monksville Manor Guest House.
But what stupendous good fortune. What an answer to prayer. A guest house and a charming hostess. My Rolls Royce, alas, has run into a snow. Blinding snow everywhere. I do not know where I am. Perhaps I think to myself, I shall freeze to death. And then I take a little back. I stagger through the snow. I see before me big iron gates. A habitation. I am saved. Twice I fall into the snow as I come up your drive. But at last I arrive. And immediately despair comes to joy. You can't let me have a room, yes?
Yes.
It's rather a small one, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's right. You have other guests.
Well, we've only just opened this place as a guest house today, and so we're rather new at it.
Charming. Charming.
What about your luggage?
This is of no consequence. I have locked the car securely.
We better get it in.
No, no. I can assure you, on such a night like this, there will be no thieves abroad. And for me, my wants are theirs. I have all that I need right here in this little bag. Yes, all that I need.
Well, you'd better get thoroughly warm. I'll see about your room. I'm afraid it's rather a cold room because it faces north, but all the others are occupied.
You have several other guests then?
Yes, there's Major Metcalfe, and Mrs. Boyle, and Miss Casewell, and a young man called Christopher Wren, and now you.
Yes, the unexpected guest. The guest that you did not invite. The guest who just arrived. From nowhere. Out of the storm. Sounds quite romantic, does it not? Who am I? You do not know! Where did he come from? You do not know! Me? I am the man of mystery. But now I tell you this. I complete the picture. From now on, there will be no more arrivals. No departures either. By tomorrow, perhaps, even already, we are cut off from civilization. No butcher, no baker, no milkman, no mailman, no daily papers. Nobody and nothing but ourselves. This is admirable. Admirable. It could not suit me better. My name, by the way, is Parafacini. Mr. and Mrs. Ralston. And this is Monkswell Manor Guest House, you said. Good. Monkswell Manor Guest House.
Scrambled egg, homemade marmalade, and all nicely served too. The little woman does it all herself.
Emeritus, there should be a proper staff.
Excellent lunch too.
Corned beef?
Ah, with very well disguised corned beef. Red wine in it. Mrs. Ralston promised to make a pie for us tonight.
These radiators are not hot. I shall speak about it.
Very comfortable beds too. At least mine was. I hope yours was too.
It was quite adequate. I really don't see why the best bedroom had to go to that rather peculiar young man.
Got here ahead of us. First come, first served.
From the advertisement, I got quite a different impression of what this place will be like. Comfortable writing room, A much larger place altogether with rich and other amenities.
Regular old tabbies alive, huh?
I beg your pardon.
Oh, yes, I quite see what you mean, yes.
No, indeed. I shan't stay here long.
No, I don't suppose you will.
That is the most peculiar young man. Unbalanced mentally, I shouldn't wonder.
I think he's escaped from a lunatic asylum.
I shouldn't be at all surprised.
Giles?
Yes?
Can you shovel the snow away again from the back door?
Coming!
I'll give you a hand, what? Good exercise must have exercise.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Really, what an incredible young woman. Doesn't she know anything about housework? Carrying a carpet sweeper through the front hall. Are there any back stairs?
Oh yes, nice stairs. Very convenient if there was fire.
Then why not use them? Anyway, any housework should have been done in the morning, before lunch.
I gather our hostess had to cook the lunch.
Yes, all very haphazard and casual. There should be a proper staff.
Not very easy to get nowadays, is it?
No, indeed, the lower classes have no idea of the responsibilities.
Poor old lower classes. Not a bit between their teeth, haven't they?
I gather you are a socialist.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm not a red, just a pale pink. But I don't take much interest in politics. I live abroad.
I suppose conditions are much easier abroad.
I don't have to cook and clean, as I gather most people have to do in this country.
This country's gone sadly downhill, not what it used to be. I had to sell my own house last year. Things were just too difficult.
Hotels and guest houses are easier.
They certainly solve some of one's problems. Are you over in England for long?
Depends. I've got some business to see to. When it's done, I shall go back.
To France?
No,
To Italy?
no.
Do you mind not playing that radio quite so loud? I really find it rather distracting when I'm trying to write letters. You don't particularly want to listen just now.
It's my favourite music. It's quite a table in there.
I know, but it's much warmer here.
Which one? I agree.
Wherever I go, everyone seems to hunt me down. And she glares, positively glares.
Turn it down a bit.
Is that all right?
Oh yes, it served its purpose.
What purpose?
Tactics, boy.
Oh, you mean her?
She pinched the best chair. I've got it now.
So you seem to think you can do it annoy you, shall we? I wish you'd go away from here.
In this, not home.
How about when the snow melts?
Oh, when the snow melts, lots of things may have happened.
Yes, that's true. Snow's rather lovely, isn't it? So peaceful and pure. It makes one forget things.
It doesn't make me forget.
How fierce you sound.
I was thinking,
What sort of thing?
ice on a bedroom jug, chilblains, raw and bleeding, one thin ragged blanket, a child shivering with cold and fear.
My dear, it sounds too grim, too grim. What is it, a novel?
You didn't know I was a writer, did you?
Are you?
Sorry to disappoint you. Actually, I'm not.
Yes? Yes, this is Monkswell Manor Guest House? No, I'm afraid Mr. Ralston can't come to the telephone just now. This is Mrs. Ralston speaking. Who? The Berkshire Police. Oh, yes, Superintendent Aubrey. I'm afraid that's impossible. He'd never get here. We're completely snowed up. The roads are impassable. But what? Very well. What? Hello? Hello?
Oh, Molly, do you know there's another speed?
Well, the police have just run up.
Trouble with police, eh? Serving liquor without a license?
Sending out an inspector or a sergeant or something.
He'll never get here.
That's what I said. He seemed quite confident that he would.
Nonsense, even a jeep couldn't get through that. Anyway.
That's what I asked, but he wouldn't say. Just said I was to impress on my husband, to listen very carefully to what Sergeant Trotter, I think it was, had to say, and to follow his instructions implicitly. Isn't it extraordinary?
Why not? He's pretty done.
Do you think it's in Ryan from Gibraltar?
Didn't remember the license of the wireless, didn't I?
Yes, it's in the kitchen dresser.
I'd rather near shave a car the other day. I'm tiny little fella's fault.
Well, we must have done something.
Probably something to do with running this place. I expect we could know some tin pot regulation of some ministry or other. You practically can't avoid it nowadays.
Oh dear, we should never start with this place. Everyone is cross, we're going to be snowed up for days, and we shall go through our reserve of tins.
Cheer up, darling. Everything's going all right at the moment. I've filled out the clothes because it was brought in the wood. Stuff, yeah, I haven't done the hens. I'll go and do the boiling next and shop some kindling. You know what? Come to think of it. Must be something pretty serious than a police sergeant letting me out in all of this. Must be something really urgent.
Ah, there you are, Mr. Ralston. Do you know that the central heating of the library is practically stone cold?
I Miss Boyle, would it surely?
I am paying 7 guineas a week here. 7 guineas. And I do not expect to increase.
I'll get him stoke it up.
Mrs. Ralston, if you don't mind my saying so, that is a rather peculiar young man you stay here. His manners and his ties, and does he ever brush his hair?
He's an extremely brilliant young architect.
I beg your pardon.
Christopher Wren is an architect.
My dear young woman, I've naturally heard of Sir Christopher Wren. Of course he is an architect. He built St. Paul's. Young people seem to think no one is educated but yourselves.
I meant this Wren. His name is Christopher. His parents called him that in the hope that he'd become an architect. And he is one. Nearly one, so we'll find out all right.
It sounds a fishy story to me. I should make inquiries about him if I were you. What do you know of him?
Just as much as I know about you, Mrs. Boyle, is that you are both paying us 7 guineas every week. That's all I really need to know, isn't it? And all that concerns me. It doesn't matter to me whether I like my guests or whether I don't.
You are young and inexperienced and should welcome advice from someone more knowledgeable than yourself. What about this foreigner?
What about him?
You weren't expecting him, were you?
To turn away bona fide travellers against the law, Mrs. Boyle, you should know that.
Why do you say that?
Weren't you on a magistrate on the bench, Mrs. Boyle?
All I say is that this Paraginian, whatever he calls himself, he seems to me that he just really is.
Beware, dear lady! Talk of the devil, and there he is!
I didn't hear you come in.
I came in on tiptoe like this. Nobody ever hears me if I do not want them to. I find this most amusing.
Yes, indeed.
Now, there was a young lady.
Well, I must get on with my letters. I'll see if it's a little warmer in the drawing room.
My charming hostess looks upset. What is it, dear lady?
Everything's rather difficult this morning because of the snow.
Yes, snow. It makes everything quite difficult. Or else, it makes them quite easy. Very easy.
I don't know what you mean.
No, there is quite a lot you do not know. I think for one thing, you do not know a lot about running a guest house.
I dare say we don't, but we mean to make a go of it.
Bravo! Bravo!
I'm not such a very bad cook.
Oh, you are without doubt an enchanting cook. But may I give you a word of warning, Mrs. Ralston? You and your husband must not be too trusting, you know? Have you references with these other guests of yours?
Is that usual? I always thought people just came.
It is advisable to know a little about the people who sleep under your roof. For example, take myself. I turn up saying that my car has overturned in a snowdrift. What do you know of me? Nothing at all. I may be a thief, a robber, a fugitive from justice, a murderer, or even a murderer.
Oh,
You see, and perhaps you know just as little of these other guests.
well, as far as Mrs. Boyle goes, she, you know.
That room is far too cold to sit in. She'll write my letters in here.
Allow me to poke the fire for you.
Mrs. Ralston, is your husband about? I'm afraid he pipes of the downstairs cloakroom are frozen.
Oh dear, what an awful day. Plus the police now in
Police?
Police, did you say?
Yes, they rang up just now saying they're sending a sergeant out here. I don't think he'll ever get here.
Already cokes more than half stones, and the price. Hello, is anything better?
I hear the police are on the way here.
Why? She'll never get here. No one will get here today. Why? The drifts will be 5 feet deep. The roads are all banked up. No one will get here. Excuse me, Pappuccini, may I? Please down.
Detective Sergeant Trotty, back you please. Can I store these skis away somewhere?
Go on down to the front door and I'll meet you.
I suppose that's what we pay our police force for nowadays. Go around enjoying themselves at winter sports.
Why did you send for the police, Mrs. Robson?
But I didn't.
Who is that man and where did he come from? He hasn't drawn me all skis all over the snow and looking terribly hearty.
You may believe it or not, but that man is a policeman. A policeman skiing.
This is Detective Sergeant Trotter.
Good afternoon.
You can't be a sergeant, you're far too young.
Oh, I'm not quite as young as I look, madam.
Oh, they're terribly hearty.
We'd sort of skis way up the stairs.
Mrs. Ralston, may I use your telephone?
Of course, Major Metcalf.
It's very attractive. Don't you think so? I always think the policemen are very attractive.
No brains, you can tell at a glance.
Hello? Hello? Mrs. Ralston, this telephone's dead. Quite dead.
It's all right about half an hour ago.
Well, the line's gone with the weight of the snow, I suppose.
Oh, so we're quite cut off now. Quite cut off. And that's funny, isn't it?
Well, I don't see anything to laugh at.
No, indeed.
Ah, it's a private joke of my own. Oh, the truth is returning.
Now then, Mr. Ralston, Mrs. Ralston, can we get down to business?
Do you want to see us alone, so we can use the library?
No, that won't be necessary, sir. It'll save time if everybody's present. So, if I might sit at this table.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, do hurry up and tell us, Sergeant. What have we done?
Done? Oh, no, it's nothing of that kind, Mrs. Ralston. It's more a matter of police protection, if you understand me.
Police protection.
Yes, it relates to the death of Mrs. Lyon and Mrs. Maureen Lyon. We were found murdered yesterday at 24 Culver Street, the 15th instant. You may have heard or read about the case.
Yes, I heard it on the wireless. The woman who was strangled?
That's right. Now, the first thing I want to know is if you, sir, were acquainted with this Mrs. Lyon.
Never heard of her.
Now, you may not have known her under the name of Lyon. Lyon wasn't her real name. Her real name was Maureen Stunning. She had a police record and her fingerprints were on file, so we were able to identify her without difficulty. She was married to a farmer, John Stunning, who resided at Longridge Farm, not very far from here.
Longridge Farm? Wasn't that one of those children?
Yes, sir, the Longridge Farm case.
3 children.
Yes, miss, the Corrigans. 2 boys and a girl, brought before the court as in need of care and protection. A home were found for them with Mr. and Mrs. Stanning at Longridge Farm, and one of the children subsequently died as a result of criminal neglect and persistent ill treatment. The case made a bit of a sensation at the time.
It was horrible.
Yes, it was. The Stannings were sentenced to imprisonment. Stanning died in prison. Mrs. Stanning served her sentence and was duly released. Yesterday, as I say, she was found strangled at 24 Culver Street.
Who did it?
I'm coming to that, madam. Near the scene of the crime, we found a notebook. And in that notebook, there were 2 addresses. One was 24 Culver Street, and the other was Monkswell Manor.
What?
That's right, sir. That's why, on receiving this information from Scotland Yard, Superintendent Ogburn thought it imperative for me to come down here and find out if there was any connection between this house, or anyone in this house, and the Longridge Farm affair.
There's nothing, absolutely nothing. Must be coincidence.
Well, Superintendent Ogburn doesn't think it's a coincidence, sir. He'd have come himself if it had been in any way possible, and under the weather conditions as I can ski, he sent me with strict instructions, mind, to get full particulars of everyone in the house, report back to him by phone and take what measures I thought fit to ensure the safety of the household.
Safety? What danger does he think we're in? Good Lord, he's not suggesting somebody's going to be killed here.
Well, I didn't want to frighten any of the ladies, sir, but frankly, yes, that is the idea.
But why?
I'm coming to that.
That is crazy.
It's because it's crazy that it's dangerous.
Nonsense.
I must say, it seems a bit far-fetched.
Well, I think it's wonderful.
This is something that you haven't told us, Sergeant.
Yes, ma'am. On the dead woman's body there were a note with, "This is the first" written on it. And underneath that a drawing of 3 little mice. And underneath that again there were a bar of music. And the bar of music was to the tune of the nursery rhyme, 3 blind mice. You know how it goes? 3 blind mice. See, they all run up
It's horrible.
There were 3 children and 1 died.
That's right, the youngest, the boy of 11.
What happened to the other 2?
Well, the girl, she were adopted by someone. We haven't been able to trace her present whereabouts. And the eldest, who would now be about 22, deserted from army and hasn't been heard of since. According to the army psychologist, he was definitely schizophrenic. That's to say, a bit queer in the head, like.
And they think that it was he who killed Mrs. Denny?
Yes,
And that he turned up here and tried to kill someone? But why?
that's what I'm here to find out. Superintendent often sees that there must be some connection. Now, you state, sir, that you yourself have no connection with Longridge Farm.
No.
And what about you, madam?
No. I mean, no connection.
What about your servants?
We haven't got any servants, but that reminds me, Sergeant Trotter, would you mind if I went to the kitchen? I'll be there if you want me.
It's quite all right, madam. Now, can you get down all your names, please?
This is quite ridiculous. We are merely staying at a kind of hotel. We only arrived here yesterday. We've nothing to do with this place.
You've planned your stay in advance, though, haven't you? You've booked your rooms ahead.
Well, yes. All except Mr.
Palpatine. My car overturned in the snowdrift.
I see. What I'm getting at is, anyone who's been following you around might know very well that you're coming here. Now, there's just one thing I want to know, and I want to know it quick. Which one of you is it that has a connection with this Longridge Farm affair? You're not being very sensible, you know. One of you's in danger. Deadly danger. I've got to know which one that it is. All right, I'll ask you one by one. You first, since you seem to have arrived here more or less by accident, Mr.
Palpatine. But my dear Inspector, I know nothing, but nothing of what you have been talking about. I'm a stranger in your country. I know nothing of these local affairs of bygone years.
Mrs.
Boyle. I really don't see. In fact, I consider it an annoyance what I should have to do with such a distressing business.
You, sir?
Metcalf, Major. Read about the case in the papers at the time. I was stationed at Edinburgh then. No personal knowledge.
Miss?
Casewell. Leslie Casewell. I never heard of Longridge Farm and I know nothing about it.
What about you?
Christopher Wren. I was a mere child at the time. I don't even remember hearing about it.
And that's all you've got to say, any of you? Well, if one of you gets murdered, you'll have yourself to blame. Now then, Mr. Ralston, can I have a look round the house?
Dear, how melodramatic. He's very attractive, isn't he? I do admire the way he's so stern and hard-boiled. Like a brilliant old business. 3 blind months. How did you know?
Really, Mr. Ray?
But don't you like it? But it's the signature tune. The signature of the murderer. That's fancy. What a kick!
Really, melodramatic rubbish. I don't believe a word of it.
Ah, but just wait, Mrs. Boyle. My crew. Can you stop?
That'll do, That is not a joke at all.
Oh, that's just what it is. A mad man's jump. That's what makes it so deliciously macabre. If you could just see your faces.
Singularly ill-mannered and neurotic young man.
Where's Giles?
Taking our policeman on a conducted tour of the house.
Your friend the architect is behaving in rather an abnormal manner.
Young fellas seem nervy nowadays.
Nerves.
Dare say he'll grow out of it.
Yeah, I have no time for people to say they suffer with nerves. I don't have any nerves.
No? But perhaps that's just as well for you, Mrs. Boyd.
What do you mean?
Well, you see, I think you were one of the magistrates on the bench at the time. In fact, I think you were responsible for sending those 3 children to Long Range Farm.
Really, Major Metcalf, I can hardly be held responsible. We had reports from welfare workers. The farm people seemed nice and were anxious to help the children. Fresh milk and eggs and a healthy out-of-doors life.
Kicks, blows, starvation, and a thoroughly vicious couple.
But how was I to know? They were civilly spoken.
I was right. It was you.
One tries to do a public duty, and all one gets is abuse.
You must forgive me, but indeed, I find this most amusing. I enjoy myself greatly.
Never did like that man.
Where did he come from last night?
I don't know.
Looks a bit of a spiv to me. Makes his face up too. Rouge and powder. Disgusting. He must be quite old too.
Yet he skips about as though we were quite young.
Ah, you'll be wanting more wood. I get it.
It's almost dark and it's only 4 in the afternoon. I'll turn the lights on. That's better.
Now, where did I leave my pen?
Oh, what a horrid tune that is!
Don't you like it? Reminds you of your childhood, perhaps? An unhappy childhood.
I was very happy as a child.
You were lucky.
Weren't you happy?
No.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's a long time ago. One gets over things.
I suppose so.
Or doesn't one? Damned hard to say.
Well, they say that what happens when you're a child matters more than anything else.
They say, who says?
Psychologists.
All humbug. Just a damn lot of nonsense. I've no use for psychologists and psychiatrists.
I've never really had much to do with them.
Good thing for you haven't. It's all a lot of hooey. The whole thing. Life's what you make of it. Go straight ahead. Don't look back.
One can't always help looking back.
Nonsense. It's a question of willpower. I know.
I expect you're right. Sometimes things happen to make you remember.
Don't give in. Turn your back on them.
I wonder, is that really the right way? Perhaps that's all wrong. Perhaps we're not ready to face them.
Depends what you're talking about.
Sometimes I hardly know what I'm talking about.
Nothing from the past is going to affect me, except in the way I want it to.
Well, everything's all right upstairs. What's in here? Is it drawing room? I'm sorry, madam, but I've got to get the lie of the land. Now then, that completes the tour. Nothing suspicious. Think I'll make my report to Superintendent Ogden now.
Oh, but you can telephone. The line's dead.
What? Since when?
Major Metcalf tried it just after you'd arrived.
But Superintendent Ogden got through all right. It was all right earlier.
Oh, yes, I suppose, since then. The line's down with the snow.
I wonder, has it been cut?
Cut? But who could cut it?
Mr. Ralston, just how much do you know about these people staying in your guest house?
I really don't know anything about them. Mrs. Boyle wrote from Burmouth Hotel and Major Metcalf and the dressing. Where was it?
Leamington.
Wren wrote from Hampstead and a case from Private Hotel in Kensington. Pavacini, as I've already told you, tried by the Blue Lake last night. Still, I suppose they've all got ration books and that sort of thing.
Oh, I shall go into all that, of course, but there's not much reliance to be placed on that sort of evidence.
But even if this maniac is trying to get here and kill us all or one of us, we're quite safe now because of the snow. No one can get it till it melts.
Unless committed. Plenty of time to get here.
Well, except for Mr. Parvicini, they've all booked beforehand.
Well, why not? These crimes were planned.
Crimes? There's only one crime in Carver Street. Why are you so sure there'll be another here?
That it should happen here, no. I hope to prevent that. But that it will be attempted, yes.
I can't believe it. It's so fantastic.
It's not fantastic, it's just fact.
You've got a description of what this man looked like in London?
Yes. Medium height, indeterminate build, darkish overcoat, soft felt hat, face hidden by a muffler, spoke in a whisper. There are 3 darkish overcoats hanging in that hallway. One of them yours, Mr. Ralston. There are 3 light felt hats.
I can't believe it.
You see, it's this telephone wire that worries me. If it's being cut.
I must go and get on with the vegetables.
Is there an extension?
I beg your pardon, did you say something?
Yes, Mr. Ralston, I said, is there an extension?
Yes. Up in our bedroom.
Would you mind going up there to try it for me?
Who's left that window open?
To understand what I may term as the mechanics of fear, you have to study the precise effect produced on the human mind. Imagine, for instance, that you are alone in a room. It is late in the afternoon. A door opens softly behind you.